Thank you very much, Dr. Malui. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Since the country entered level 3 of risk-adjusted strategy, the tourism sector also began its march towards full operation. The reality of COVID-19 pandemic and the fluctuating risk of the virus spread has dictated that we pace ourselves in our efforts to reopen the sector. However, we believe that so far, one step at a time, we are walking in the right direction. The impact of the pandemic has been devastating for the tourism sector. Many businesses are at the risk of being lost and closed, and many jobs have either been lost or at the risk of being lost. However, we are doing everything we can to ensure that the impact of COVID-19 to the tourism sector is minimized. Over the last 4 months, we've had to work hard in partnership with the private sector to develop health and safety protocols and find innovative ways for the early reopening of the sector. Successive discussions with the industry representatives of stringent preventative protocols and guidelines for the tourism sector yielded results. Along the way, with various subsectors and activities opening under level 3 and level 4. This included restaurants, accommodation establishments, casinos, hiking, self-drives and game farms, and professional services. Domestic travel for business purpose was also allowed as of June the 1st. Following discussions about the current risk level, the National Coronavirus Command Council recommended to Cabinet for some restrictions to be eased to allow more tourism activities to reopen. Cabinet has approved the following. Under restaurants, in our recent discussions with the restaurant sector, 2 issues were raised with regards to the current regulations. One was crippling effect of the 9 o'clock curfew to the restaurant business operation, and the second one was the issue of alcohol sale. To comply with the current curfew regulations, restaurants are unable to serve dinner to their customers, which means that they are unable to operate at peak time of their business day. In response to this challenge, Cabinet has agreed to move the curfew to start at 10 o'clock p.m. to allow for uninterrupted dinner services at restaurants. We believe that this change will go a long way towards increasing their revenue generation. The sale of alcohol remains prohibited, unfortunately, to my restaurant sector. That's the feedback. On accommodation for leisure, Cabinet has also agreed to ease the restriction around leisure travel. Currently, individuals are not allowed to leave their homes for leisure purposes. After the release of the new regulations, individuals will be permitted to leave their homes for leisure purposes within their provinces where they currently live. Let me emphasize this. It is only for intra-provincial travel, not inter-provincial. It's intra, not inter. So it's within your province. If you are in Gauteng, you are allowed to be within Gauteng. You don't go to KZN. If you are in KZN, you don't go to Gauteng. That's what it means. Individuals are still not permitted to travel between provinces for leisure purposes. Accordingly, this change has implications for accommodation facilities that are permitted to operate under level 3. No more in terms of the directions that we will be issuing once the regulations have been published. It will be expected that within the accommodation will comply with no more than 2 persons per room except for a nuclear family. This means a parent or 2 parents with children. Establishments are already legally obliged to require and keep a record of proof of identity, and this shall be expected even for leisure accommodation. Short-term home rental sharing remains closed. It's not yet allowed. Under tour operators, in the new regulations, The tour operators will be allowed to conduct guided tours in open safari vehicles subject to directions and includes provisions for both social distancing and maximum ventilation. These changes will come into effect immediately as soon as the new regulations have been gazetted and published. Since the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemic, we have been having several and regular interactions with various stakeholders. These interactions, which are almost on a weekly basis, have helped us to gather inputs from all stakeholders on how best to reopen the sector and support the recovery going forward. I must indicate these interactions are at a ministerial level. So it is the minister with the delegation that meets various sectors and individuals weekly in order to ensure that we remain constantly in touch with the sector and having engagements with the sector. While other activities continue from officials and including our entity and the discussions that are led by both the board and also our South African tourism entity leadership, executive leadership. These interactions have also helped to share information regarding how our government is managing the pandemic. Going forward, we will invite health practitioners who are advising government on how best to manage the pandemic to meet with our sector so that together we can strategize on the way forward. We are armed with all the necessary information when we take various decisions about our sector for the future. We have also agreed to formalize our working relationship with the sector player through a formation of a task team that brings together a broad spectrum of private sector players and officials from the department to work towards reopening the sector and resolving other sector challenges. This will include, as I said in my budget vote, together with working with the sector, having norms and standards published by end of August for the sector for international market to feel safe that they can visit South Africa when the borders open because it will be safe for them to do so. Under relief and response measures. In supporting the tourism sector in this crisis period, the Department of Tourism redirected 200 million through the Tourism Relief Fund. Of the 7,284 valid applications submitted, our resources could only assist 4,000 businesses in the tourism and hospitality sector. Allocation of funds was conducted in line with government policies and ensured that there was equitable share of the resources across all regions of the country, including rural areas and small towns and small dorpies. We are encouraged by the many letters of appreciation from patriotic South Africans, both black and white, who did not listen to the misleading noise that the relief fund was specifically for black people. This unfortunate and untimely confusion unfortunately discouraged some who even those that qualified to apply for the grant. I need to give a total breakdown of how we distributed the fund according to provinces. For the Eastern Cape, we were able to pay 457 companies, Free State 134 companies, Gauteng 1,017 companies, KwaZulu-Natal 607 companies, Limpopo 294 companies, Mpumalanga 238 companies, Northwest 162 companies, Northern Cape 124 companies, Western Cape 967 companies. This brings to all 4,000 companies that have been allocated and given the grant. We regret that a total of 3,284 applications were not funded due to various reasons. The first one being depletion of the resources, despite the fact that some qualified. Reasons for non-approval range from enterprises with an annual turnover of 5 million and above. This means those who do not qualify in terms of the criteria, because we have said that we are looking for businesses that their turnover per annum is 5,000 and below. Non-tourist tourism enterprises that applied as well. Enterprises not covered under TRF guidelines like franchising restaurants, we didn't cover this. Applications with outstanding mandatory documents such as valid tax certificates, we do not qualify, or any supporting documents. So We had various reasons, and all the letters that details the reasons for unfavorable considerations have been prepared and are being distributed to various applicants. On the relief fund for tourist guides, a month ago I announced that we have set aside 30 million to provide financial relief for freelance tourist guides over a period of 2 to 3 months. The processing of payments has taken longer due to some provincial offices closing down after they had positive cases of COVID-19. You would understand that we utilized our registrars in provinces to gather information and verify the individuals that needed to be paid. We have since received a list of 9,380 tourist guides from the provinces. It has come to our attention that some of the tour guides are registered with UIF. To avoid double dipping, we have initiated a verification process to ensure that only those who are not receiving income will be benefiting from this. The first batch of payment of 1,378 verified eligible beneficiaries have been made today. The second batch will be paid upon completion of the verification process. The verification process is expected to be completed tomorrow. So once we have done that, verified that there's no double tipping, those individuals as well will be paid. But the 1,378 tourist guides, as they start going back to work, they will be able to have this support so that they can start performing their duties. Other government relief measures. In addition, we welcome the decision by Minister of Finance to review and change the qualifying criteria for the 200 billion rand COVID-19 loan guarantee scheme so that more businesses can gain access to the funds. We encourage businesses in our sector to exploit this opportunity. Similarly, we welcome the announcement by Minister Nxesi of the extension of the temporary employer-employee relief scheme until the 15th of August. This will definitely go a long way for many businesses and employees in our sector. I need to indicate, ladies and gentlemen, that the Department of Tourism has started working on the recovery plan for our sector. In the past 3 months, we have been working on developing a tourism recovery strategy. In this regard, the CEO of SAT, working with a team from the department, have been gathering inputs from the sector through series of webinars, some which I personally participated, and also received written inputs from the sector players. This work has culminated into a draft tourism recovery plan document. Let me take this opportunity to thank the team that worked hard to produce this document. The South African Tourism CEO, Mr. Sisanjona, and his team, and the team from the department led by the DDG Anemi Malan, who worked around the clock to ensure that this document is finalized. In light of every involving COVID-19 situation, I have decided to release the draft plan for further consultation to all stakeholders and the general public before we finalize for submission to Cabinet. The window for making inputs will start on the 1st of August 2020 when I release the document until the 15th of August 2020. The document will be found on our website, and inputs can be sent to recovery@tourism.gov.za, which will be available on our website as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand here on the eve of Women's Month. Throughout the coming month, there will be strong focus on various challenges that women in our country are facing, including the important issue of gender mainstreaming. Gender-based violence remains a big challenge which our society must confront. Moreover, the issue of gender equality remains a thorn in the various sectors of the economy, including the tourism sector. As a woman leader in the tourism sector, I call on all women who are part of the tourism to draw inspiration from women such as Mama Winnie Mandela, Mama Lillian Ngoyi, Charlotte Maxeke, Albert Sisulu, and others on whose shoulders I stand today, and continue the fight for increased women participation in the sector and in the economy in general. As we work towards the recovery, Let us ensure that we build a sector that embraces women as equal, capable economic actors. A sector that is not inclusive, the sector that is not inclusive is not a sustainable sector. We understand that these are extremely difficult times for our sector. However, we believe that this situation demands that we work together to weather the storm going forward. As government, we continue to be seized with finding stability and solutions as we traverse the turbulences. Let us protect ourselves. Let's wear our masks. Let's wash our hands. And let's continue to practice social distancing. In this way, as we work together, we will fight and we will win the battle against COVID-19. Thank you very much.